Of the two options, which one, in your opinion, would give us the better chance of getting the best qualified person for any position here?
Well, that's that's a great question, Alderman Elliott.
Well, I get paid the big bucks.
Oh, yeah, there you go.
There you go.
You know, quite frankly, I think it depends upon the position, and I don't mean to sidestep it. You know, if we're looking for some positions that are typically public sector positions, like a planner is going to come from, in a lot of cases, another government entity. They're looking for a DB plan. If I'm recruiting a public works fella, he might be, either one would work. He just wants to know that we have a good retirement plan. So I hate to dodge it, but it does depend. And we're very small and lean here, and so we do try to recruit the best that we can.
Question for our consultant. One of the concerns people have on the defined benefit is and it was alluded to by Alderman Honkin, was about the future issues. And I was just curious your opinion on that in terms of viability of this plan. I mean, obviously no one can predict the future, but as far as a boogeyman out there that's waiting to jump on anyone, what is your feeling for that again on the potential for problems down the road for that type of a plan?
Bob Cross, USI Consulting Group, 425 Heathermore Drive. That great question. I think if you look at Social Security, no doubt, a lot of uncertainty. No doubt that program will change. Don't know what the cost will be on a long-term basis, so there's uncertainty there. With respect to a defined benefit plan, there's no way one can guarantee the cost of that program. I think one can come close. What I would note, I think, with respect to those plans, where they've gotten in trouble with various public bodies is, one, they've not been funded, period, or not been funded properly. Two, they've been amended to the point where the benefits are totally unrealistic, unreasonable. Age 50 retirement with 75, 80% of pay, 3% per year, COLAs, et cetera, totally unrealistic. Either one, to Janet's point, either one of these programs would do a better job as far as providing a more adequate pension benefit. I think either one of these options is going to have some degree of uncertainty. If you decide to go down the defined benefit route, would strongly recommend that you incorporate provisions to manage or contain cost. And the items we noted, one, require an actuarial survey, and whether we do the work or someone else doesn't really matter. Require an actuarial impact statement, and it clearly defines cost, and it defines cost immediately and on a long-term basis. Require that the plan be 125% funded. Under ERISA, you only have to be 80% funded, so you'd have to have significant overfunded to make any change. The third, I'd require supermajority of the board before there's any plan modification. Wouldn't be a simple majority. It could be 100%. There has to be complete agreement between all board members before there's a change permitted to the plan. You could go even further to say that the employees have to pay the cost of anything over 8%. So whatever you decide on that end of the spectrum or that component, strongly recommend that you incorporate as many provisions as possible to contain cost, because that is the bugaboo with respect to these plans, no doubt about it.
And that's the case. What is, again, your confidence level in whatever we can project 5-10 years from now?
That's again, well, candidly, I'm very confident. We made the projections. If we start out at assuming the percentage move that we indicated, which would be a necessity to start the plan, I believe that it was well over, I believe it was 85-90% funded right from the start. The town, we'd recommended continue to contribute 8%. The projected contribution level for this plan is around 6%. so you have a surplus contribution pattern right out of the gate. So it's conceivable at some point that the contribution level would increase above the 8% level, but we are very confident that on an ongoing long-term basis, a contribution level of 8% will sustain this plan with an employee contribution of 6% of pay. Any other questions?
Burkdale. I actually am also a financial advisor who retired just a few years ago. My practice was entirely based, well, not entirely, but 90% plus, based upon providing corporate retirement plans. And so I want to make three comments. I'm going to try and be brief, and so I'll keep it to three compartments. Number one, as a citizen of Farragut, I am heartily sorry that in 1984, I may have the year wrong, but that's the year I think, the town adopted a defined contribution plan and opted out of Social Security. That was not smart. That was really not smart. And I can understand and I can feel some degree of compassion for the employees who came to work here knowing that that was the retirement benefit. I'm sorry. That sort of cuts both ways, doesn't it? Okay, next statement. As a professional, I will tell you that the average retirement benefit for a private sector employee in the United States working for a major employer, not a small company employer, but major employer. Small company employer may not have any benefit at all. Large corporate employers, the average benefit is FICA plus 50% match on 6% contribution, so a 3% contribution. Neither of the options offered tonight is anywhere close to that draconian. So the average private sector employee is not as well off as the public employees here will be under either plan you've proposed. A dollar-for-dollar match on 4% is very healthy, the highest dollar-for-dollar match I know of in my experience. And by the way, let me back up a second. I handled corporate plans with $650 million and over 10,000 employees, the largest all across the nation, from California to Michigan to Florida to the East Coast. The largest contribution I ever saw was 5% dollar for dollar, and the people who voted that in were immediately fired. The company didn't roll it back, though. So 4% dollar for dollar plus FICA is a very generous benefit. The problem you've got here is that you adopted a retirement plan in 1984 that was really very silly. You could have done a defined contribution plan and still opted in, which is what you've got, by the way, whether it's a 401A or a 401K. You could have done that plan and still had eligibility for Social Security. There was no reason to opt out of Social Security that I know of. Maybe somebody here can explain to me why you would do that. I guess because if you did Social Security, you probably wouldn't have done an 8% non-matching contribution. So then we should have been talking in the real ballpark about what was reasonable to devise it back in 1984. And it's unfortunate the decision was made that was made. Here is the problem, back as a citizen now, not as a professional. Here's the problem I've got. I am a resident of Farragut, and I am not going to be happy if the Board of Aldermen in this community signs on for a potential underfunded, unfunded mandate. Do you listen to the news? Do you know what's going on in this country? The states that have public employee pensions are being hammered. because they're underfunded. And whether they're underfunded because of the bad market for the last 10 years or because they haven't met their ERISA contributions or what, I don't even want to get into that. I feel sorry for people who are not prepared for retirement. 61% of my generation is not prepared for retirement. 61%. I feel sorry for them too. The Board of Mayor and Aldermen has a responsibility to do something that is a benefit for the employees, but it's also got to be making sense for the people who could end up on the hook for an underfunded public employee pension plan at a time when the rest of the country is trying to figure out how to get out from under those things. And that's all I have to say.
Just a side note, anybody who's willing to bet on the future of this country, come up, I'll take your bet. The fact is that everything is unknown.
Ms. Curry, do you have a response to the gentleman?
One reason that we have looked at the defined benefit plan, and it's very important to some employees, is because the decision which was made in 1984 was made because of a change. And this is my assumption, but the Social Security law changed that year. It was reformed. And if you were government, you could stay out of Social Security if you put in an old age and survivors benefit program, which that's what the town did. That time the town was 4 years old. I think they were still being challenged on whether they were survive or not. So who knows why the decision was made. Also, the DB plan, what it offers is it offers our long-term employees a better retirement than the Social Security would, because joining Social Security, they cannot catch up all those years. That's number one. The DB plan offers the long-term employees, and we have some 20 and 22-year employees. Also, until quite recently, many employees did not understand the consequences of being outside of Social Security. There are two laws that were passed. I'm not sure where they were because I haven't been here that long, but when I did my research, there are two laws. The first is the windfall elimination provision. The second is the government pension offset. The windfall elimination requires a deduction of up to 40% of your pension, of any Social Security you try to obtain at your normal retirement age. So let's say someone works 10 years someplace else, comes to work for the town of Farragut, works for them 20 years, retires. Well, up to 40% of that first year's Social Security earnings is deducted. The second, that's just an example. The second is the government pension offset, and that is at retirement, you would like to draw off your spouse's retirement, which you can do, which is 50%. Well, the government pension offset is a deduction of 2/3 of what anyone else who's on Social Security would receive. Employees just did not understand those consequences until quite recently. And that's another reason for us looking into both options.
I really don't understand what you just said.
Okay, what part?
The part where you're drawing on your spouse's Social Security, but if you have a pension of your own, they can only draw 2/3 of their benefit.
It only draw whatever you would be entitled to under the Social Security provisions, and I'm not a Social Security, I just know what I've been told. Whatever you could draw off your spouse at your normal retirement.
You mean if they die or something? Or
no,
what?
You can still draw off your spouse. They have all kinds of rules. Let Bob help you here. Thank you.